Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. My name is Dan Murphy, and with me always is Derek Brissett, Stu Hardy. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? It's been, we didn't get any Six Nations this weekend, but the Scotties Tournament of Hearts was this weekend. I don't know if you guys caught any of that. Some fantastic curling.
What? Since I didn't watch it, why don't you recap me real quick? What did I miss?
Basically, the two teams that were in the finals, Manitoba's Carrie Anderson, who is Team Canada this year, and Rachel Holman from Ontario, are the best. Like they were in the final last year for a reason, and they're kind of kicking butt right now. And you can really tell that people are affected by the layoff. A lot of missed shots. A lot. It'll be really interesting to see the stats of all the teams after this tournament and compare it to other years, because it seems like there's a lot of missed shots this year. Just because they might have had
rust, right?
One tournament. Yeah, one tournament before around October, November, and then everything shut down.
Yeah.
You haven't been able to curl at all anywhere. The only there's one team in the whole field that was able to have a full season, and that was PEI.
Oh, true. That makes sense.
They're not.
That's got to be that's got to be a hard sport to practice on your own too. It's not like if you're a basketball player, you can buy a net and then put up some shots in your driveway or something.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you're a rugby player,
it's really hard to
throw some passes, or you could go to an open field and practice some kicking. You can do something, but no one's got it's not like people don't have how big's a curling rink? 100-foot sheet.
It's big.
Yeah.
They had a story about how the Quebec skip, her dad flooded their pool just so she could practice her sliding. She couldn't throw rocks, but she could practice her sliding going down the yeah. And they had little kid rocks that are half the weight, so she could balance on something and practice. So yeah, no, it's crazy. It's
when's the
normally it'll be this Sunday.
This Sunday. All right, so this podcast will be out before Sunday. So this is all eyes on you. Your Scotties Tournament of Hearts prediction for the final.
Ooh. I think it's going to be Ontario and Canada again. There are a couple of teams that are. See, the tricky thing is Ontario's skip, Rachel Holman, is 8 months pregnant.
Ooh.
And she's still playing really well, but as someone who's dealt with a 8-month-old or 8-month pregnant wife, I know how exhausted you can get. So I don't want to bet against Rachel Holman because she's an amazing curler, but that's got the fatigue of the tournament after not playing any and also being 8 months pregnant. It's got to weigh you down at some point. So I think I'm going to say Carrie Anderson's going to go back to back and win the Scotties this year.
Just because Rachel Holman's pregnant. That's the only reason.
Well,
they do nothing
other than the fact that Carrie Anderson's also undefeated and rolling through the competition.
All right. Okay.
Just a reminder to our casual listeners and viewers, you are listening and watching the Rouge Rugby podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we got to shift this conversation over to something that me and Stu can understand. I tried. I did my best.
Fine.
I gave you some questions.
I appreciate that, Derek. You're a good sport.
I tried my best there.
Stu, I'll have you know that the UK has one of the better international teams, so you maybe need to do your research about your cultural heritage.
I know this. I watch the Winter Olympics as well.
Stu's
I watch my obligatory curling match once every 4 years.
Yeah, every 4 years. Good for you.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, so let's get into what we are supposed to talk about, and that's rugby. And we're going to talk about a little bit of somber news, and it is that Dan Carter officially retires from professional rugby. There were kind of some whispers in the cosmos that he was going to join an MLR team, but this has been 2 years in a row where that hasn't happened, and he officially puts the dagger in the heart of MLR fans. He is retiring. Now, I want to say that he's the GOAT, but I think that rugby is a hard sport to kind of say that with how important so many different positions are. But I don't know about you guys. I started rugby late, so when I learned about Dan Carter, he was the old dude. So I didn't really know, like, until I really started following rugby even more, how impressive he was. So how, what is his impact really on the sport, or even just like in your fandom?
I would say that if you have to see only one game that has Dan Carter in it, it has to be the second Lions test of the 2005 tour to New Zealand, where he just decided to switch to God mode and played the greatest game. It will go down in history as one of the finest All Blacks games ever, and one of the finest All Blacks performances ever.
That's one of the finest athletic performances ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, not even rugby specific.
And I have to admit, when he was in the squad for the 2015 Rugby World Cup, even at the time, I was going like, should we have him? And then, of course, I remembered in 2011 he got injured, so he wasn't in the 2011 final. I will say he had a few off days, to put it nicely, in 2015, but I also knew that he would be retiring after the tournament. He'd declared that before. And then, now that your international duty is done and dusted and you can go out on your terms, he went off to France and then later Japan. And then eventually he did come back to New Zealand. He was scheduled to play with the Blues in Auckland, although he never actually did make an on-field appearance for them. And yeah, we've heard the rumors of like, oh, it's Dan Carter going to join Rugby United New York, or is he off to join LA? The most recent rumor was that he wanted to play in MLR for a season, but be back in New Zealand in time for his wife's birth. And it's just like the dates and times didn't really align up for me. So I was always dubious about that claim. And it was hilarious last year when, after the rumors first emerged, he got on Twitter and immediately shot those down as well. It's I've been fortunate enough to see the All Blacks play, but I unfortunately didn't get to see Dan Carter play. This was in the 2015 game in the World Cup against Namibia, but he was the water boy for that game. He was helping, put the cones down for the warm-ups and things like that in what I would later discover was a winter jacket, one of those like duffel coats that go down to your shins and staying warm all the time through that, even though it was summer in the UK, but different shrugs. And it's been an absolute privilege to be able to see him play on the international stage and in like European competition as well. I think the rugby world is forever grateful for what Dan Carter has done. And there are a lot of players who are playing now who owe their interest to Dan Carter. So I know Dan's obviously a big fan of the show. So if he's listening or watching,
I've seen the New Zealand numbers. I know it's you, Dan. Not even just players that owe a lot of their interest in rugby to Dan Carter, fans as well. I know, like, because I joined my high school rugby team, it would have been in like the February or so of 2007. So it's like, and I remember like when we were kind of learning the game, one of the things that we would do, like kind of like what Luke Campbell said he got in trouble for a couple weeks ago on the podcast or whatever. It's like guys on our team would go to like the library on free periods or not free periods and watch like rugby highlights, and like the go-to team that we always watched was the All Blacks, and that was Carter's rise. And I was still like, there was a video on YouTube of that 33-point performance against the Lions, which was just like, so like for me, I know Dan, you were kind of commenting on how like you're a bit of a more recent rugby fan, but it was like for me it was like my first kind of like impressions of rugby, and like my first like introduction to it was through like the Dan Carter era All Blacks. And yeah, Dan, I mean, to me he's the GOAT too, honestly. I think And I mean, I'm showing the fact that I'm a bit of an All Blacks fan here. If Canada's not in the game, I definitely lean All Blacks as far as an international rooting interest. But yeah, like I think like him, McCaw, Lomu, like I feel like those are a lot of the guys that you kind of talk about as far as like the greatest, or at least like my three favorite players. Um, and favorite is a subjective term, so people can't argue with me about favorite players. They're my favorite players. But but yeah, like I think like you look at what he's done, like I mean, if you want like numbers to back up the fact that he's the GOAT too, like he's got 1,598 international test points, which is the most all time. It's over 300 more than Johnny Wilkinson, who's in second. So like Dan Carter is a full like you'd be pretty proud of scoring 300 international test points. So he's like a full like decent he's a full like decent career ahead of the guy in second, I guess. Maybe not a Hall of Fame career or anything, but you'd be proud of that. He also has the most points in the history of Super Rugby, again by a ridiculous margin too. Um, he's basically, I think when you look back, Stu, you kind of mentioned that 2015 World Cup, and it was like it's coming like the battles that he had with the injuries, and obviously a little bit of that drive, having missed the final in 2011, and he comes out, he gets the man of the match performance in the World Cup final, hits a drop goal, like it's a kind of an unreal way to bow out. Like it's a legendary way to go out as far as your international test career is. And and like he's won everything that you could possibly win. He's got multiple Super Rugby championships, multiple top 14 titles. When he went to Japan, he won the Japan Top League. If he did come to MLR, he would have won that too. Um, it's those rumors were fun.
Just a matter of time.
But yeah, I think he really is probably one of the best players of all time. And I know I'd be curious to hear, yeah, like send us a message at Rouge Rugby or like at Brissette the Jet on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. If you don't think Dan Carter is the GOAT, who do you think it is? And because I would love to hear it. I would love to hear the argument and stuff. Um, but yeah, absolutely unreal career. The Players Tribune article that he wrote was lovely too. Kind of talking about like when he first realized that like fans were stopping him in the streets to just talk about a
Yeah.
rugby game, how much he loved that, and just the fact that it was like from the beginning, I was just a fan that ended up, I guess he started off as just a fan that ended up becoming the reason why like millions of other people became fans of this great sport too.
The cultural impact of Dan Carter um, goes to show. Like players' tribunes are normally, it's normally a big deal. Normally,
Yeah.
only some of the best athletes write for that, or they're ghostwriters, depending on who you say wrote it. But I mean, it shows that how big of an impact he had on the sport that he had that opportunity to write right there. So it's a huge
But
impact.
I think that's one of those things too, like with him is like he's probably like people sometimes talk about it like if rugby has like a true like global icon, and like maybe there hasn't quite been one since Lomu, because I feel like personally Lomu definitely hit that mark, but
Yeah.
like, Carter is probably the most recognizable rugby player in the world, and um, I think like anywhere that he went, it would be a big splash. And it's why you get like the Players Tribune is like that's a North American sports media outlet, and they're like, yep, and Dan Carter's writing his kind of farewell letter to them in that space, right? So it's like I mean, I think that like that is also something that kind of puts him a little bit over the top, is it's just that extra mile, like all like his sponsorships and things like that, being like an Adidas branded athlete, and all the like trying to blanking on it now, but it's like he's got like those sponsorships with like the watch companies and stuff like that too, right? And a bunch of other like internationally well-known brands, right, that kind of just increases his like exposure to the game. Like he hangs out at major international events and stuff, and it's always
For
like,
sure.
yeah, this is the best rugby player in the world, that's why he's here. And that's it's
See, Kulisi is he's slowly turning into that. Like they've
yeah,
done Rock Nation has done a really good job of getting his face into places. And
Rock
I
Nation,
think
they're doing that a little bit with a Toje too, which is it's good to see as well.
It's all great stuff. Now, guys, if and it's a big if he wanted to go for a swan song, one final season in MLR, which team would you have linked to see him? Would you have liked to see him play in? Besides the Arrows. I think Arrows is the obvious answer.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're taking them out of the equation. It has to be an American.
We already
team.
have a Kiwi fly. We're fine. We don't need another one. We're okay.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
I'd rather have Taylor Adams. Let's be honest.
Okay.
I mean, okay. If Dan Carter were to hypothetically played a season in Major League Rugby, I would not care who he played for. It would have just been like,
what a cop-out answer.
It is. It would have just been like, man, that would have just been cool to see him in the league. Whether it's the Giltinis, the Legion, Rooney, Free Jacks, Arrows, NOLA, Austin, Utah. They would have been the most popular team in the league that year. Like, because all
right, Stu, I want an actual answer. Who would you want him to play with?
I would like him to play in the Western Conference, so that
the Arrows avoid him.
So they'd only play him once, and
they'd have to play him twice because Dan Carter's team's going to the final, right? So
but I would like to have a bit of an in-team battle. I think the Tasman rivalry between an Australian for the starting position would be great. So I think he will be up against Sam Windsor with the Houston SaberCats.
I feel like Dan Carter wins that battle, but
I mean, yeah. But if we're being hypothetical.
Yeah, it's very hypothetical. If he did, yeah. I'm just like, I remember being in Vegas for the MLR Vegas weekend. And after the Arrows played Houston, San Diego played Colorado. And it was just like, kind of like in the press box, but also just kind of like, I'm like thinking that I'm like sending tweets or like recording notes. But I realized like 20 minutes into the game, I was just like staring at Nanu, just being like, because I'm like, yeah, it's Nanu. Like, why would you? And it'll be the same thing too, man. Like, I'm stoked. Like, I can't wait for fans to be allowed, and I hope like I'm just like, I hope in 2021 San Diego has a game in Toronto because I want to see Rob Shot. Like that'd be cool live. So I mean, like any opportunity to see Dan Carter live, I would have happily taken. Because Nanu was unreal live. That was so cool to see. But yeah, so I'm just like, if he was in the league, that would have been cool. Although, to be honest, I don't know if I necessarily would have like wanted to see that or whatever, especially if it was like, if he's got the injury issues and stuff. And it's like, it's one of those things that's like, even like this last Super Rugby season when he was like, basically
there, but didn't really get to play at all.
Basically the Blues water boy or whatever. But I was also just like, watching that and being like, because even that, like, I kind of talked a lot about the All Blacks and stuff, is like the Crusaders were one of like the first like club teams that I was like even interested in. And yeah, I'm probably bandwagon jumping on
you cheer for all the bad guys. It's like Saracens,
All
Blacks.
Yeah, you know what's because they were good when I started watching rugby. But I was just like, yeah, because they were good when I started watching rugby. I was a Leafs fan from like in like that era. I needed something to balance out the 08 Toronto.
Balance out the suck.
Yeah, I needed something to balance out like the 07 to 2012 Maple Leafs. But it was but yeah, so it was like, and then like I was like watching those Super Rugby games, like, man, it is so weird seeing Dan Carter in blue stuff. Like, it's weird. It's like, right.
Yeah, again, new
it's weird.
Rugby fans, so it didn't bother me.
It was like when Dan, it'd be like when Martin Brodeur played those 4 minutes for the St. Louis Blues.
Oh yeah,
weird.
No, I see what you're saying. My answer is I'm going for Maximum Chaos. At first, I almost agreed with Stu, and I wanted Carter in the West Coast, but no, I wanted him playing for Nola Gold. Just absolute Maximum Chaos with the backline that they have there. It would have been just so much fun to see. All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on now because the Toronto Arrows have been busy bees today. And one of the
thank you for like releasing this before we recorded the podcast.
Yeah,
we appreciate Brock.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Or anybody else that made that decision, but thank you, the whole organization, before the podcast this time.
And actually, I believe it actually has to do a little bit with Derek's hat. If I see Avro
That's
enough,
the reason I put on the hat today.
I knew it was. The Toronto Arrows have announced or released their new logo for their senior academy team. Gentlemen, quick thoughts. How do you feel about it? I think it looks fantastic. You know, they keep on pumping out all this fantastic content, and it's just like, all right, let's put these on some jerseys and let's have some guys hit each other. Let's get into it. Let's go. Like, it's so great to see that they're putting the effort into the branding for these, so people are gonna be excited about it. But at the same time, I'm like, I just want to see it on people. I want to see some rugby.
Yeah. This logo's just fire, man. I love it. I'm debating whether or not I like it more than the Arrow's actual logo.
Yeah, I honestly thought about that as well. Like,
it's good, man. And like the post that, like, the image that they have, like, on, like, the what do you call it, like the press release that they sent out on the website, where it's like the gold, white, and blue, and it's like kind of the three versions of it, I guess, depending on what color the background is going to be that they're using the logo under. Dude, the color scheme is amazing. Like, it almost makes me want to, like, I know, like, they put the numbers are going to be in like Ontario Arrows kind of throwback gold, and I'm kind of like looking at this, I'm like, maybe they should kind of work in that yellow gold maybe a little bit more in some of their other stuff too, because it looks amazing. I love the idea of putting the senior academy kind of leaning into the fact that that they are named after the Avro Arrow, the legendary aircraft. And it is a super cool, it's a super unique name. And I mean, I know, like, it's awesome to see, like, guys like Dan Moore, when they score a try, do like the bow and arrow celebrations and stuff, because obviously, like, your team's called the Arrows, so like that works. But it's like, it's really cool kind of seeing, because I think, like, it's really cool seeing them lean into the fact that they're named after an airplane, I think. And it's like, it looks amazing. Like, it's
like, I want to buy like a ball cap or a sweater.
Dude, that was
something
my
with
first thought when I saw this, was just like, the moment they slap this on merch, like, my wallet will be empty.
Yeah.
Like, it looks amazing. Like, I mean, I'm wearing, like, I mean, a little bit of, like, a tiny bit of an airplane nerd here, so I'm wearing like an Avro aircraft hat for anybody listening, with the old school, like, the proper Avro Aero company logo.
Although, to be honest with you, now that I'm looking at it next to the junior academy, it looks very Pokemon Go-ish. Like, there's a blue one, there's like a predominantly yellow one. Like, they need to release a Canada Day logo for red, and the whole set will be complete.
Well, I mean, you can kind of recolor that though. I thought they're like the junior academy logo too, like the arrows kind of making the trillium and stuff. I think like, they're doing a great job kind of working in, like, the various different themes that kind of make up the organization. And like, on the original Ontario Arrows logo, they had like the Avro Arrow flying like across the CN Tower, which I thought was really cool when they had that. And I love the interlocking TA logo, but like,
It kind of reminds me of the Freemasons, which is kind of like, I honestly, I would be happy if they move closer to what they've shown.
Yeah, like, I
logo.
love it. Like, it's like, I do like the interlocking TA. I love that. I think that looks great on a hat too. That's part of what makes it a good logo, right? It's got to look good on merch. It's got to look good for your social media icons and stuff like that. Like, that's just part of what you need to make a good logo. But I think even, like, they kind of did like the Delta wing look really good, but even have kind of like the nose of the plane kind of transitioning into like an arrow, like, pointing up and stuff too. Like, it's a nice touch, man.
You're
Like,
starting to see what you mentioned, the aircraft nerds to seep out little by little.
yeah, exactly, dude. It looks good, man. I love it.
Stu, are you as fired up as we are about this? Because we are. Spewing.
I think it's the logo that the US Space Force wishes it had commissioned, because
no, that's Canada's way cooler. Canada's way
no, as in the sense of it's so good. It just works really well. The only downside is because they have the image now of the junior academy, the senior academy, and then the team logo. the team logo just looks out of place
compared to the other two.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's not to say it's a bad logo. It's just
I get
doesn't mesh together.
Yeah, because
it may be a case of for the 5th season of the Arrows or whatever down the line,
I get what
they change it so it's more in place to have like a Toronto Arrows logo that's closer to the Academy logos than the current one.
Are you just kind of sorry, Stu? Are you just? I think I get what you're saying. You're just kind of saying because of like stylistically, like the two Academy logos look pretty similar or whatever.
Yeah. So and that's it's just because it's a different style, and it may be a case of for brand awareness and brand recognition, it may be that the Toronto Arrows logo changes to more match the logo that we have. It could be
I hope
a mixture of blue,
I like
white, and gold.
No, if again, if it's similar to what they've put out with the other two logos, I would love to see something new put together for the senior team. But also in the release, guys, there was a little additional information. They've actually added another center for Academy athletes. Traditionally, there was just going to be a West and East, but they've actually added a Central for Whitby. The new Whitby hub has been added to the roster of returning training locations as a means of safely managing cohort sizes. Again, we are still living in a COVID world. We're going to be living in a COVID world for most of 2021, it looks like, especially in Ontario. So the three hubs give the Arrows the ability to spread out their academy athletes and have smaller groups, which means they're able to do a little bit more because of safety protocol. So fantastic work by the Arrows.
I would imagine it's probably a little bit easier for travel too for some players and stuff.
For sure, yeah. If you're in Toronto, I would rather travel to Whitby than Kitchener.
Like Guelph and Kingston are pretty far apart. So I imagine it's a little bit of convenience in there, but great to see, and also widening the player pool too. So that's also great to see. Yeah. Probably also widening the player pool also probably helps with adding the third location and stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm. They're also very busy with another announcement today. The club has partnered with Matchday Info to deliver 2021 digital matchday programs, which, again, we don't know when the Arrows are going to be coming back to Canada, at least in this season. So to me, this seems like this is just a fantastic little bit of fan appreciation that they've put their money where their mouths are and added just a little bit of interactive match day guide is what they're calling it. Stu, is this just kind of another way to just kind of ease the pain of possibly not having any home games this year?
I mean, we're all hoping that towards the end of the season and when it comes to the playoffs, hopefully Toronto will be able to actually play in Toronto again. But at least for the first half of the season, or maybe 3/4 of the season, it's looking like we're going to have the team based in Atlanta anyway. So having these programs be released does keep that fan involvement going on, and you can use them on like desktop devices, handheld devices as well.
Mm-hmm.
MDI seem to have a grip on things already, so they seem to be coming from a place of experience with match day programs already. Best of all, it's free of charge, so you're not paying extra to find out what's happening with your team and so on and so forth like that. So I think it's a great thing to have just to keep us all involved.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. Obviously, COVID, not being able to have fans is already a challenge. Not being able to also play home games because we're one of the only Canadian team in the league, so you got to cross a border to make that happen. So, much like the Raptors and the Jays, you have to play south of the border. And I think it's a great way to keep, like, I can't wait to see what the content itself looks like what they do, like as far as like maybe player interviews or anything that can be incorporated into an interactive match day program. So I'm excited to see what the first one's going to look like. I do like that, like you kind of said, Stu, like match day info, like it's like they've been doing this for a while and stuff, and I did kind of like look it up. So they're a UK based company or whatever. The Arrows are, as from the press release, the Arrows are their first North American based client. But um, it's like by doing that though, it's like they have experience with rugby teams too, like the London Irish, and then the Bedford Blues are their clients. You can shift over to league, and they have the Sheffield Eagles and the London Broncos listed as some of their clients as well. So it's like it's a company that's familiar with both codes of rugby. So that could also go a long way when like the people that are designing the program or designing the app have an understanding of rugby too. Hopefully we'll get to see some pretty awesome content. I do think it's great because I think like one of the biggest things that's going to have to happen for the Toronto Arrows this year is finding unique ways to keep fans engaged, and not so much engaged as is like, because I mean like fans is like especially the diehard fans are still going to watch the games and stuff, but it's like how do you like keeping them engaged, if the game's on Saturday, keeping them engaged from Sunday to Friday too, right? With like whether it's videos from practice or interviews with the players, things like that, right? Or just like general updates on like what's happening with the team that week. Probably have to do like some fun stuff of like just maybe the guys like hanging out or whatever. If you follow any of guys on the team on Twitter, it's or on Instagram or Twitter, it's like there's some pretty entertaining personalities on the team. So you probably got to find some things that can let those personalities shine and keep the fans engaged. So I'm stoked for this. And I can't wait to see what the first one looks like. So
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that we've seen those personalities shine, especially with some of their later content that they've been putting out online. Another digital partnership that has been agreed with at least the whole league in MLR is MLR has teamed up with PT Sports Suite. PT Sports Suite will work closely with MLR's technical teams to configure and deploy branded digital platforms across digital asset management, media collection, collaboration, and MLR app, uh, web and app-based fan engagement, and augmented reality technology. And I think the best comparable I can make is the British and Irish Lions. I believe have contracted this company, and I actually have the app on my phone. It's a pretty good app. I mean, every so often after every Six Nations round, I'm selecting my British and Irish Lions 15 on the app, and it's got a connection to the store, the fixtures. They have like interviews from former Lions about their tours and stuff like that. So, I mean, what does this deal mean like for the fans? I think that it's another piece that MLR is developing to grow the company. I mean, every sports league has an app that has everything you need, whether they're good or not. NHL, I'm looking at you. That's completely different. But it is, I think, and I'd like to hear you guys' opinion, that it's a good step for the league.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to remember the timing, because I know Doug Wilkie posted in the Arrows Up fan page. He was talking about like what apps people use to like get like their rugby scores and everything. And part of that discussion was like Tribe was one of the few apps that has Major League Rugby scores and updates on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like as far as like the big North American ones like Sportsnet, TSN, those are the Canadian ones, so those are the ones that I use. But I mean like ESPN or NBC, so like sports apps and stuff as well. Like it's like they don't, as far as I know. So if ESPN or NBC's has rugby on it, I'm not too sure because I don't use it. I go with Sportsnet and TSN for most of my sports news. But like those don't have rugby on it, so it's like if you want those kind of scores and those updates, you need to have something else on it. But I think that's part of what Major League Rugby also kind of needs to do, right? Is again, there's no fans, or there's very few fans. Some teams are going to be allowed to have limited numbers or whatever their state by state rules are. Um, but it's like if that's the case, you have to find new ways to engage the fans. And I think, like you said, Dan, almost every sports league has an app. It's something that I think you do need. And I hope, like, yeah, hopefully it'll like open up the doors to a little bit more like fan engagement and some marketing potential. Part of the press release was George Killebrew mentioning that there's opportunities to maximize revenue and provide more value to sponsors through the app. So like the business potential of it is also great. Um, I think it is something that, I think it is something that the league definitely needs. Like, I mean, even looking into the future, let's just say we get past COVID and stuff, people spend a ton of time on their phones, man. Like,
Yeah.
so like you need to make that like accessible, right? So it's like you got to find a way to be on people's phones. So create that app. And you know what? Who knows? It's like if you create that app, it goes well, people download it, the Major League Rugby. Like you said, Dan, you have the British and Irish Lions app.
Yeah.
Right. You like it though, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So
It's
like
good.
hopefully
Well, you can't see because of my green
you can't
screen,
see
but
it. There's
it's
also
there. I
Technical
promise.
difficulties, ladies and
I'm
gentlemen.
gonna make a digital lion.
Yeah.
I don't know
Also,
what that means.
half the people listening to this are audio only too. So holding your phone up doesn't
Oh yeah,
only helps.
I forgot that we started this as a podcast and not YouTube.
Yeah. But it's like if it's good, then hopefully it's like a lot of people will download it, the fans like it, the fans interact with it, and then maybe like Major League Rugby can be like, use that to like go to people like TSN. Probably TSN, like let's say I'll use TSN because the Arrows games are on TSN. So maybe you can like go to TSN and be like, look how many people are like downloading our app or whatever. Like this is something like North American, there's a lot of North American rugby fans or whatever. It's like you guys would probably do well to put rugby and specifically Major League Rugby on your app, especially from the point of view of TSN. Anyways, it's like they had the Arrows games last year. I think we're still officially waiting on any word for broadcast this year, but if they're willing to show rugby on TV, then like put it on your app. And even maybe Sportsnet too. Sportsnet shows the Premiership, right? So like, it's like maybe they could benefit from like putting actual like rugby scores and stuff up on their app too, because they do have a little bit of an interest in rugby because they
Oh yeah,
passed it on
like if you go to
Sportsnet Pro.
TSN's website and you go to the rugby tab, it's still like it's World Cup stuff and then like Wolfpack stuff. Like there's really isn't a lot of MLR stuff. So obviously, even though they show the games, there's still room to grow. Like,
Yeah,
there's a couple Arrow stories here and there, but like
yeah. TSN puts up Arrow stories every now and then. So which is great, but it's like it'd be cool. Like you got to get. I think like you kind of like if you go to Sportsnet's website. Let's even moving off apps, just websites in general. It's like it would probably do a lot for rugby if there would be like if someone could find a way to convince like a major sports outlet like
mhm.
say Sportsnet or TSN to be like put like a rugby tab at the top bar, like so it's like it'll be like hockey, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, rugby, or whatever other sports, auto racing or whatever else is on the top of Sportsnet's tab. um like that would probably help to go a long way. But in order to do that though, you got to start by showing that there's an audience for that too, right?
Yeah,
So
first steps.
yeah, exactly. So make it so when we were talking when Doug Wilkie started that conversation, people were kind of mentioning all the various different apps that they use, and sometimes people are fans of different sports, and you need various different apps to make sure you keep up with all the sports that you like, especially if something you like something like a more niche sport like rugby or like Aussie rules football or cricket or something like that. You might need a couple apps to make sure you can keep up with everything. So like yeah, if you're Major League Rugby, it's probably very beneficial to kind of take it into your own hands. And like Killebrew said, the added benefit is marketing or sponsorship, extra revenue opportunities. Sponsors could be happy. You could put ads from like I don't know, like a rugby shop ad or something on your
For
your
sure.
app when you open it, right? um and yeah, and like you said, Dan, they work with like the British and Irish Lions, develop their app too, right? So again, kind of going back to what I was talking about with the match day info with the Arrows, it's good to see it's like they went out and got a company that understands rugby too, and they know what kind of get that market. And being like, and it's not even just rugby too. It's like they picked like one of the most it's one of the most like prestigious teams in the world, right? And one of their other clients is also just flat out the Guinness Six Nations too. So it's like they do the Six Nations app,
There you go.
and the British and Irish Lions, right? Two of the most iconic brands in rugby, and also the Bristol Bears, which maybe less than 2 iconic brands, but still super cool.
Yeah, if you follow their social, they've got a pretty strong social game.
Yeah, Bristol Bears are great, man. They're a lot of fun on social media too, and it's like their website and stuff looks really cool too. Like, so, I think it's great for the league. Again, similar to what my thoughts are on the match day info stuff was just like, I can't wait to see it. Like, I want to see it. I'm excited that they're doing this. I think it's like a step that the league definitely needs to take. And like, I'm excited to see what it ends up looking like.
Stu, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Digital innovation is great for any sport, never mind just rugby. And I also have the British and Irish Alliance app on my phone as well. So, Dan, I know exactly what you're talking about. If there had to be one app that I say that MLR should try and emulate, it would possibly be the South America Rugby app. Now, last year, South America had the South American Four Nations, and that tournament was broadcast exclusively through the app. Yes, it was all in Spanish, but I think that could be a good avenue to go down, especially when it comes to like international broadcasting rights. For the past few years, it's been on Facebook if you want to watch it overseas. And it may be a case of, for the international fans to say, look, if you download this app, you'll be able to watch your favorite MLR team here. And then for international and domestic fans in the United States and Canada, they'd be like, okay, so US and Canada, you won't get the live games because the rights are to TSN and ESPN and CBS Sports and all that, but you'll still get access to live scores, articles, player interviews, all those kind of things. That's just my suggestion. But even just getting something similar to the British and Irish Lions app, I think would be amazing.
Yeah, I think my only concern with doing things like that is, I think, like, even with the Suit America app and stuff, is just like, that makes it harder for casual fans to stumble across it. Like, if that's the only place, and I understand so that you were saying, like, it's like, yeah, like the Arrows game would be on TSN or whatever. And then like everybody else would have like their local one. So it wouldn't necessarily be that. Like, you would still watch it on that. But I think, like, for casual fans and stuff, I think the game needs to be on something that you can like stumble across or whatever. So platforms like YouTube and like Facebook and stuff, I think are like, you need, I just don't think it's like, if you want the casual fan, you can't make them have to go out of their way to find the game.
I agree with you, Derek. But I think we're ignoring the place. If we want that, then it should be on Twitch.
Yeah,
like who's going through Facebook just going, all right, well, let's look, like the way that like the Facebook videos set up, unless you subscribe to them or a friend tells you about it, like that's like, I think it needs to be accessible. And as unless you're a rugby fan and downloading the MLR app, you're not going to like know about the games unless a buddy tells you download the app. But Twitch, if you just look up rugby on Twitch, it'll show you that stream. It's a little harder to get it through Facebook. YouTube would be very similar. Like YouTube, to me, it would be either YouTube or Twitch.
I think ultimately, like, the most important thing is that you still have to keep it, whether you have to
accessible.
Keep it on something, accessible, where, especially where it'd be like, even if it's on something that you have to pay for, something that like non-rugby fans would be paying for anyways, like something that you like, because even Facebook and stuff, it's like, if you have a friend that's interested in rugby, maybe that friend one day is just like, oh, Houston's playing Austin, here's the video, share it, and maybe and now it pops up in your news feed, right? So it's like, you do need that. I'm not like, I think putting the games on the app would be a good idea. That's like, a lot of leagues do that.
It just needs supplemented by,
yeah, exactly. But it's like, I don't think it should be. So it's like, I agree with Stu in that sense, that the game should be on the app if it's a thing that's feasible. Of course, like, I'm not saying that's like a deal breaker or anything for me, but it's like, if you're able to, if you want to do that, that's cool. But it's like, there needs to be like, it can't be only on the app.
For sure.
There's gotta be options and stuff.
The only issue I'd have with Twitch is that if the crowd is playing, or if like the stadium's playing any music, as Metallica found out the hard way this week, is that they'll immediately cover it with royalty-free music. And that's why I say the app should only have the rights for like internet or like non-North American broadcasting, because I believe for the casual viewer, the most accessible form is still television, and therefore the casual fan in Canada and North America should be able to access it by TV. For a lot of international audiences, especially in Europe, these games are going to be at like closer to like the end of the day and the early hours of the morning. So it's a very niche audience that would be looking for those games, especially if they're like the 8 p.m. kickoff on the Pacific Coast. Yeah. So, but again, hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Honestly,
all right, guys. Let's.
Sorry, Dan. Just one more on this or whatever. But like, honestly, I think what the league does right now is great. Like, put them on YouTube.
Put them on YouTube,
and then like it works. You could put them maybe in certain places, whatever. Like, you have them live on Facebook, YouTube. That works. But it's just like you were saying, like it's about the accessibility, right? And it's like you put all those, like every MLR game is available on YouTube. Like you can just go watch it whenever you want.
Oh, right? I was doing dishes and I was watching a Seawolves game from last year,
dude. Exactly,
or from a couple years ago.
Exactly, that's what you need. I just like the league, like whatever they end up doing with the app will be cool, but it's like keep the games on YouTube. Like, I mean, we're talking about like Twitch and stuff, but I think they have the setup there. Like, just use YouTube, use Facebook, like because I think that's like, I mean, maybe put them on Twitch as well. Maybe that's an option. I don't know how easy that is, but like maybe that's an option. Maybe just add stuff, more social media platforms that you're on. A lot of people were watching the virtual stuff, like
exactly,
pretty good numbers on that. So maybe that's a venue to look at too, right? So, but yeah, I think like just keep doing that or whatever, and then hopefully use the app to like supplement that, make it like add to the experience.
All right, guys, let's move on because we have a couple more things before we finish up. And this has been something actually I personally have been wanting to talk about ever since the announcement was made by the RFU that the Premiership will be scrapping relegation for, I don't know if it's for the foreseeable future, just for next season. But I personally think that this should be the future of European rugby. And my point is that I think rugby needs to look at some of the North American sports and how successful minor leagues are. I mean, let's take we're Canadians. Let's go with hockey. If the RFU was smart and got some of these championship clubs to form agreements with the Premier League, so the Ealing, Ealing forms a partnership with Bristol. They officially become their minor league team where members of the Bristol Bears Academy can go and play and train and get meaningful games in and really get to hone their craft. And Ealing benefits by saying, hey, look, we've got the future players of the Bristol Bears playing for our sport. Come and watch the future of Bristol here in Ealing. And minor league teams change a lot. It happens, they just don't pull in as much money as the major league teams. But look at relationships like the Toronto Marlies, which is the AHL, American Hockey League affiliate to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have done a very good job, especially within the last 20 years, of really advertising that they are showing you the future Maple Leafs. And they do a very good job marketing that, and they pull pretty good crowds. Using also some creative marketing like kids, like school days and stuff like that. So they really took advantage of that. Another team that comes to mind is the Syracuse Crunch, which play in New York, and they're the affiliate of the reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now their benefit is on the ice. Syracuse just pumps out NHL players for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And if you look at some rosters from some of the teams for Tampa Bay that either made Stanley Cups in the recent years or were part of the Stanley Cup final this year, a lot of them made a trip through Syracuse. And I think it solves two things: that you don't have to put all your money into an academy program you can keep your academy program running, but also rely on your championship affiliate to train these guys and also put them in big game situations. Like, what are guys on the bench like? What's Will Kelly going to learn compared to if he plays a little bit level down than being on the bench with the Arrows? If the Arrows had a minor league team, I'd rather him be a starting 10 in that minor league team so he gets those big game experiences.
But then who's the backup 10 for the Arrows? You need two on a team.
Sorry, did I say backup? I meant starting. Like, he needs. Well, I think he should be starting 10.
But you need
those games.
Who would be the other 10 on the Arrows then? Because you need two 10s.
Taylor Adams, Juan Cruz Gonzalez.
So you would just chuck them to like minor rugby.
Like, if he was playing on like the Bristol Bears and they had a minor league affiliate that was playing like championship level, yeah, I would put him on Ealing. I would say, well, we're going to give you some big game experience. Go practice, play big game experience. And when we think you're ready, look what bringing it back to the Leafs. Look at what the Leafs are doing with Nick Robertson. He got an injury early in the season. They're now having him playing the Marlies, lighting it up, Get those big game experiences before you jump back in and get a big taste of the big leagues. Like, I don't understand what relegation does that benefit the sport. Yeah, okay, so the teams sometimes get a little bit of hope by making it into the Premiership, but most times they have not. They get knocked back down, and the only times that teams have really flourished are like, from my own memory, and again, I'm not correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but like Bristol was kind of a up and down team between the Premiership and the Championship, and now that they've pumped a bunch of money into the team and signed some bigger players, they are now on the up and up, top of their league. And Exeter is the same thing, but they also got those big players like Stuart Hogg to help boost their chances. So, like, to me, if you can solidify, yes, these clubs are going to be in the Premiership, these clubs are going to be in the Championship, let's create a strong partnership between the two leagues. Financially, I think it's a little bit more stable. Like, you don't always have to worry about pumping a whole bunch of money in to make a run for promotion.
Yeah. So as the only European on the podcast, the whole promotion relegation issue has been a thorn in English rugby's side, because it seems to have continued over from, something like the Premier League soccer in the UK as well, because you can throw a stone and you'll probably land it in a soccer field in like the UK somewhere. There's so many ground shares as well. That's never going to be an issue. But obviously rugby has different problems, and you obviously can only do so much with what you have. I agree. I think scrapping promotion and relegation will be something beneficial, especially to like the England teams. I think what should happen as well is that the money that the Premiership gets from the RFU should be reduced, and that money should then go to like the Championship teams, especially coming from like a COVID situation where teams are struggling now. They're struggling to pay their players, even though you could argue that Championship teams are semi-pro at best. And that's the thing, so the current Premier League structure, or like team foundation, is currently the 12 teams in the Premier League and Saracens, which leaves 13 teams, which, doesn't really work well when you're dividing it up. But if, say, the next big money team, which would be Ealing, was able to show that they had a stadium that fit the requirements, which is minimum of 10,000 seats, they would have the money to prove that they could survive in the Premier League environment for at least 5 years. Then the Premiership may just say, right, we're going to ring fence at 14 teams. We're going to, copy France and just have 14 teams, but we're then going to follow a model similar to the Pro 14, where we have conferences. So we're not draining our players and they're not playing 26 games during the regular season each year. Because what I see is like a long-term issue for rugby in the Northern Hemisphere as a whole is that when, not if, when the money comes to MLR, these will be teams that will have salary caps far higher than they do now, where they can be able to, sign marquee players for $1 million, for example, but they'll only be playing a set number of games for basically half the regular season.
Ben Foden brought that up.
Yeah.
When the money comes, it's going to be such a desirable location because of the fact that you don't have to play as much damn rugby, and it's more appealing to national teams.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing as well. If you can lure, young players who are, in the academy structure, but they're not getting game time with their team of choice or the team that they've been in the academy with. And then you have someone from MLR go, oh, why don't you come over to the United States or Canada and you can play in one of our teams? And if you sign like a 4-year, 5-year contract, and then by the time you're, 23, 24, you'll be playing for the United States or you'll be playing for Canada, and you'll be making like more money than you would be in your hometown. And now, obviously, the eligibility laws can change, as we've known that they've gone from like 3-year eligibility to 5 years. And, they could change further, they could reduce. We'll see how that goes. But, there may be some very talented players that will come over, play, do the preseason, do a full season, and then still have time to recover to play in international games, whilst the English and players will be, pushed to their absolute limit. This is one of the big concerns with like the Lions tour happening this year, is that players will go from playing in the Premiership and like the Six Nations immediately into the Lions tour, and then they only get a month off before they have to go back into preseason for the next season of the Premiership and more autumn internationals and so on and so forth. So by ring fencing, and again, it doesn't have to like stick at 14. If like the next 2 championship clubs, for example, are able to get good investors, they can increase the Premiership to like 16 and so on and so forth. It may actually address a problem before it becomes a disaster.
I just think, like, ultimately, like, if they wanted to ring fence it and like with not having promotion, it involves like a complete like structural shift or whatever. Like the minor league system in North America works because that's always been the system. Right.
Yeah, but they've also
completely, and also like I know like when you're using like you're saying like your example like the Leafs and the Marlies, like the Leafs and the Marlies are owned by the same people. Like it's the same owners, that's the same organization. Like that's not like a part, like that's the same organization from top to bottom, right?
Yeah, but Syracuse and Tampa Bay aren't.
No. There is some different ones, but there's a lot that are the same. But like I think that is like ultimately though, like you have to like Premiership, like you would have to redraft like rules for like how guys can go up and down, which the NHL, like a league like the NHL and minor league baseball, they have a lot of rules surrounding how you can bring a guy up, how you can send a guy back down, what happens if guys are hurt and you want to like tweak the rosters and stuff. So you're gonna like do like the paper transactions to move them up and down. Like there's a lot of rules and structure and stuff that have to go into doing that. It's not like I don't think
I don't think that like I don't think I'm under the illusion that that's not the case.
Yeah,
but I mean, are you? I want you to answer this question, Dirk. Do you think relegation works for the RFU right now? Like, do you think it's the viable option for the future?
I don't know if it's the viable option for the future. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like I don't know if I do think you need something for the games at the bottom of the standings to make them interesting. Or whatever. I think
no. So okay. So someone, and I'll have to send it to you. Someone wrote an article about that because that was an argument people have made about it. And attendance does not go up in relegation matches. They don't go up. People actually leave. Like, I'm pretty sure Rugby Pass actually wrote an article about this, that like attendance doesn't go up.
Yeah, but well, okay, so like if attendance doesn't go, but does it go down? This is just
yes, yeah, that's what they're saying, is that the attendance actually goes down. I'll have to try to look for the article.
Yeah, that's fine. I just think like, I think you kind of, but like, I don't know. I think there's got to be like, because I think like, but it's, I guess what I'm trying to get is like, at least in North America, like, even though I don't think the draft is necessarily the best thing for like, because I think like, you know, I remember being a Leaf fan when Austin Matthews was sitting there and you're kind of cheering for them to lose, which is kind of maybe the opposite of what you should be doing as a fan. So I'm not sure if like the draft is like a draft or anything is necessarily right. I think like, I don't know. I think honestly, I think promotion.
What was the thing is pro sports has rugby's only been a pro sport since 1995.
Yeah, that is the other
like yeah. You're talking about things being set in stone. Well, it's only been set in stone since I'm older than pro rugby.
Pro rugby, yeah.
So like a lot can change. I'm not saying that needs to be changed for next season. I'm just saying that
I think the RFU wants the Saracens back before they do this. I think that's gonna happen.
Like, are they gonna risk the Saracens doing this, like cheating again and being relegated?
Yeah, but like, the beauty thing is though, if there's no promotion and relegation, if you ask the Houston Astros, you don't get relegated for cheating.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on because
there you go. So maybe that's the reason. Like, I think wait for the Saracens to get.
So there's consequences.
Hey, like, well, no, like I don't think.
Cheater, we're gonna relegate you.
Hey, I'm just like,
I think there can be a negative feedback loop put into place. So it's like, if you finish like bottom of the table, you can like have an extension of the salary cap or something like that.
Listen, there's more creative people than me that can figure out a bonus to.
But that's
being bottom
more than us. More creative people than us.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean though. Like, in order to do this, it's not it's not as simple as just being like, hey, we're gonna stop relegation. It's like, you gotta go look at your organized, like, the rule book for the Premiership and completely
I hear you.
write it, because it's completely new.
I stand by my point.
I don't think, like, I mean, I'm a North American based sports fan, so I grew up with no promotion and relegation. Like, promotion and relegation is a foreign concept, and like outside of like, you know, until like outside of like watching rugby and soccer, like it's, and I think like even too, like I look at like, hey, like
Super Rugby
doesn't have promotion relegation. It works.
Yeah,
I think
it is just England and France that have promotion and relegation, and of like the top flight teams or top flight leagues.
Yeah,
even.
I think what it really comes down to though is it's like you said, Dan, it's like when you go to like the minor league level and stuff, you need to make sure that those teams have a way of like sustaining themselves without having the resources that the major, quote unquote, major league or the top flight clubs are going to have.
I mean, one of the biggest problems in North American minor leagues is like travel expenses.
Well, yeah, travel
expenses, and the ability to just go to, you know, local derbies and stuff like that in England is so much.
The other thing too, though, is like you do get instances which I don't necessarily think works all the time, but like, you know, like you get instances if you have that partnership and you like, because it's like there's minor league teams that'll sign agreements and be like 4 or 5 years, and then like, you know, it'll be like, okay, at the end of your partnership, it's like, well, now you have to change the name of your team or your colors because you linked it to the major league team or whatever, right? Like, I mean, it'll never happen, but even like in Toronto, right? Like we used to have like the Toronto Roadrunners as the Oilers affiliate, right? And it was like now, but it's like then the Leafs bought them and they completely had to like change and stuff, and now they're.
I mean, what's worse?
Moves around.
What's worse, the Ealing losing? I mean, Ealing's not the best example because they're richer. But what would you rather them change their names or not have money to be able to compete?
No, you would rather have them, and probably, to be honest, they probably don't have to change their names anyways.
It's just an example. I got you.
But
all right,
I think there's a lot that goes into that decision, though,
for sure.
And like honestly, I have grown up with no promotion relegation, but I don't think I don't think promotion, not relegation, is necessarily a bad thing. Although Dan, I will say to your point of like the Will Kelly thing, although I don't think Will Kelly would be sent down if there was a minor league rugby. But like I think at a certain point in maybe it's gonna be 5, maybe it'll be 10 years, the gap between like the top flight of men's club rugby in North America or the like youth sports or American
it'll be very
rugby,
different.
it'll be too big. And at some point you're gonna need that step in between.
For sure.
It'll happen at some point that you will need that actual step too. But
okay, guys. Well, let's finish with some silly hypotheticals after my hypothetical question.
Our whole podcast is silly hypotheticals.
Yeah. As you can tell by my my green screen, the outdoor games.
This guy's bringing up curling, and we're staring at a hockey rink.
Yeah, I know.
So rugby podcast then.
But the outdoor games took place with some hits and some misses in Lake Tahoe over the weekend. So I want to ask you guys, and we're going to start with an MLR game. Where would you like to see an MLR game played? There's no monetary or political restrictions. Has to be in North America, and it cannot be in a state or province that has already hosted an MLR game or team. Stu, where would you want your MLR game played?
Also, I'm going to throw this in right now. Who's playing in it? You got to say who's playing it. You got to pick the two teams.
I'll go first. Well, if you guys are still thinking about this,
I know that's fine. I was just waiting for you guys.
Okay. I want to see a game in like the prairies, like, and I'm not talking about like a stadium. I'm talking about like in the middle of a golden wheat field. I want someone to mow a field. I want a pitch to be made like almost like Field of Dreams. Build it and become. I'm just thinking about the cinematic beauty of just seeing a rugby pitch in the middle of a golden wheat field is just so appealing to my brain. And I had some doozies. I thought about like Lake Louise and like, but there's just something about just flat plains and like, also you can make up the Midwest, but I'm Canadian, so I'm going to stick with Saskatchewan. And I definitely would say it would have to be like Toronto versus like Seattle, like, get as many Canadians in there as possible. Play them in the prairies. That's what I want.
So, I think that, as is shown from the NHL outdoor game, Lake Tahoe, is that you need great scenery to really sell these kind of locations. So, I did a bit of research because my geography skills, as you know, isn't quite that good, but this location isn't just in one state, it's technically in 3 states. So, and I think that if you are going to have a game anywhere, politics and money aside, it needs to have rivers, it needs to have mountains, and maybe even be on the site of the largest super volcano magma chamber in the world. It's better known as Yellowstone National Park, which would have to.
At halftime, we have to move a buffalo off of the field.
Hey, we'll have wolves to take on those buffalo, and that would have to be the home team would be Utah, just because they're the nearest, and then I'd say the second nearest team would probably be Seattle as well. And you can just have a game, you can have Old Faithful going off every time a try is scored.
Oh God, the fullback, he's been melted. Oh, but what a try. What a try. Dan Carter making the call.
I'm not saying you play in like
in the volcano.
Acidic lakes. I'm saying you play on a field that, got seats around it and barriers and all that stuff.
It's like the
you
in
go
the Dark Knight
that
where the football field collapses as Hines Ward scores a touchdown.
Oh, yeah. Basically, it's just melted humans. All right, Derek, what did you think of?
Okay, so I thought of one. And I thought of it before I saw your script that you were going to put in, that it can't be in a state or province that a game's already been played. So I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm gonna modify my initial thought. So as we mentioned earlier, bit of an airplane nerd. And I was inspired by the new Toronto Arrows Senior Academy branding logo. So my game was going to be the Toronto Arrows versus the San Diego Legion, because why not? It's the championship game that we never got. So San Diego, so the Arrows are the team named after an airplane. San Diego is where Top Gun is. So my initial plan was to have the Arrows play the San Diego Legion at Top Gun, put like the airplanes and stuff, play like on the runway, do all that. But then Dan threw a wrench.
No. This was Stu, okay?
Stu,
I did not write this script.
Okay, who should I be angry at right now?
Stu, be mad at Stu.
Stu had to throw a wrench in my plan, so I'm going to modify this. Because international waters are technically not a province or state. So we're still going to Top Gun. Arrows Legion, middle of the Pacific Ocean on an aircraft carrier. That's my MLR final.
Honestly, before I saw Stu's rules, I want to do it at Billy Bishop Airport.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be pretty cool, right? Like
that'd be cool.
Very similar to your thought. Arrows, lean into the airport kind of thing.
Like see, Dan, this is Stu. Look what you did, Stu. My other thought, actually, that I was just like, just would be cool because it'd be like, just for like the monuments and stuff. I was gonna say Rooney Free Jacks Times Square. Just put the pitch in the middle of Times Square. Do that.
That's really thinking no monetary political restrictions.
Yeah, no, exactly. No. I said there's no restriction.
Hypothetical
scenarios.
Bonus.
I think you could probably pull off playing if you can build a rugby pitch on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean.
Probably.
Kicks might be interesting.
You have to 1,000 balls. Okay, bonus, guys. Pick a venue for international test. I said it's going to be a home and away. Canada versus the U.S. Parliament Hill for Canada home game, because I know they've done like practices on Parliament Hill.
Yeah,
and there's pictures of Justin Trudeau being lifted and stuff like that when he was like an MP or something like that.
Space to do it too. Like the Senators, I think were thinking about playing a game.
Yeah, do an outdoor game there. Yeah, and then the away would be by the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh, just go to the Capitol
on the Capitol Mall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I dig.
So it'd be Canada, the U.S., and then do an exhibition Toronto versus Old Glory or something like that.
Stu,
that'd be cool. So I was going through all these. So if my home game was going to be at Yellowstone National Park, it would be the away fixture would be at a national park in Canada, because I'm doing San Diego versus
you guys got the whole
the Arrows. Yeah, exactly. Because I would choose 2 national parks, and the second one would be Banff National Park.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Which you'd just stop playing and you just start looking around and just being like, I think there would be an issue is when you kick a conversion and it goes in the lake, and then you have to spend half an hour trying to get in and get it back. But it'll be worth it. Yeah. It'll be worth it.
I think that was the one thing that is obviously the NHL kind of did that because they don't have to worry about fans, because fans can't attend games anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the best part about the Lake Tahoe games was just, when the ice wasn't melting, was just being able to look at the scenery behind it. It was amazing. And it's honestly, that game's worth it just for the social media pictures that they have from it now. So you got to go with that cool location. So I went to Europe for I'm going to Europe for my my test match here.
The Vatican.
Ooh, right country. I guess not the right
Vatican
country.
is a country.
Vatican is its own country. Okay. Right general area then, I guess.
Geographical area.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So my thought, we're going to go with 6 nations just because it makes more sense. So we're going to go 6 nations. It's got to be big though. So you got to either do it the finale or the opening match of the 6 nations. So I'm going to go with England visiting Italy in the Colosseum.
Oh,
I could see where this was going as soon as you said, "Oh, it's close."
I was thinking about the mountains. I was still thinking natural. No, that's good.
No, in the Colosseum. Yeah, let's do
it. Last little hypothetical, guys, before we end it. Luke Wilson announced a partnership with the Seawolves. He took a picture with some kit
jersey,
and everyone has lost their minds and thinking he's actually signed. Guys, we are pretty sure that Luke Wilson will not be playing for the Seawolves. I think he's probably got a couple more years of NFL. I mean, he didn't play a lot, but I'm sure he could sign to a practice squad and make more money than he would with MLR.
Absolute brilliant marketing, Seattle.
Oh yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about it on our show. So
honestly, yeah,
Seawolves are playing like 3D chess.
Dude, I feel like people were more hyped about the possibility that an NFL player was joining Major League Rugby than like Rob Shaw or whatever. And I don't know if it's just because like in North America, maybe like the NFL's got a little bit more recognition than European rugby, even if it is a star like Rob Shaw or even guys like Nanu and stuff. Like there was some like, man, that picture blew up. That was so like well done. Marketing does.
So my question to you is, which non-rugby athlete would you like to see play in MLR? And Derek actually threw this up on Twitter, and he got a couple of responses, some interesting ones. Draymond Green, actually a couple basketball players. Draymond Green from Earful of Dirt.
Here, I got my Twitter.
All right. I will say I've got two. One is Michael Phelps. The guy's like 6'4", 200 pounds. Throw him at the lock position. He is an absolute beast. It seems like a slam dunk to me. And this one is kind of.
Is your next hypothetical match going to be underwater?
No, he's a beast. On water, off water, near water, anywhere near the water. Like he's just giant. He's a huge specimen. The guy like has like advanced lungs. You're not telling me in an 80 minute match that's not going to benefit your team?
Good.
My second athlete that I would love to play rugby, not necessarily MLR, but I would love to see Serena Williams play inside center.
That'd be cool.
She is
anywhere, any position.
We talked at the start of this episode about the GOAT. Like Serena Williams is actually the GOAT. And like I think she's got
rugby, but just life and sports in general.
Just in sports in general. And I think that she's got the like spatial intelligence to play like a playmaking 12, but she also just has the power to absolutely run you over and end your life. Like think Nanu. Like Serena Williams would be my Nanu on my US women's national team.
I like it.
If I was a selector.
Okay, so I also have two choices as well. One is more technical and one is just sheer power. So from a technical perspective, we're saying about crossover athletes, what kind of sports would benefit a rugby environment. And I think there's been the case for that wrestling is in the sense of like wrestling at the Olympics. So freestyle or Greco-Roman.
I thought me and Stu were on the same page.
Triple H 8-man. Give him the pedigree.
I thought me and Stu were going to be on the same page.
Wait. Let me explain, and then let me explain my other choice. So, the first choice this is a shot in the dark, baby. Iranian wrestler Hassan Yazdani. He is the current reigning world champion in freestyle wrestling. He is 86 kilos at 1.8 meters tall. Those stats.
What's that? What's that in feet and pounds?
Well, as the.
What do you mean, Dan? You don't know that? You're a country that uses the metrics.
Oh, please!
You're Canadian.
We barely use it. Don't even give me that. Get out of here with that.
Okay, he is, I believe, 5'11", and as for weight, now he's 190 pounds.
Okay.
So 5'11", 190 pounds. Definitely one of the backs, but obviously, maybe an inside center because of his ability to tackle from his wrestling experience and how to tackle correctly, I think would be a great benefit as well. Now, on the subject of wrestling, I would then choose someone who I could see as, a Jamie Roberts style crash ball center. Like you give him the ball, let him run, and he'll demolish everyone in his wake. And that would be the current, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. I think give him a rugby ball and he will demolish anyone in his path.
He's probably definitely held a rugby ball just because of his heritage at one point or another. Honestly, I stopped watching wrestling a long time ago, but Roman Reigns is one guy I definitely know, and he is an absolute beast.
And he is 6'3" and 280 pounds, or 191 centimeters and 130 kilos.
Also, former member of the Edmonton Football Club.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so before I do mine, I'm kind of on the same page as Stu. He saved it. He saved it with naming a wrestler that I've heard of. But I just wanted, before I go into it, because a lot of people responded to my tweet, so I just figured there's a couple really cool ones on here. So obviously, like Gronk came up a few times, Brady came up, DK Metcalf came up.
Oh yeah, he would be an unreal. Yeah.
A lot of tight ends like Travis Kelce and stuff came up too. We got I like this one. Thomas Billsborough sent me Lewis Hamilton. Oh, I would love to see how that translates. I would love to see how F1 drivers translate to rugby. I don't pay,
I'm not scrum half. We'll see how he does.
I would love.
He should be able to handle the tackles because drivers have to be put through so many G-forces that it'll be just like, oh, another trip in the park. Oh, no, not a problem whatsoever.
When I was on the Earful of Dirt podcast a couple of weeks ago, we kind of talked about Gronk and if he would be like, would you invite him to Eagles camp? And basically, like what it came down to is like 100% because it's worth the marketing alone.
Yeah,
he could be the worst rugby player ever, but it's worth it for the marketing. And I'm kind of like, my couple thoughts were kind of in that line of one. Joe Harvey actually came up with like one of the first replies to it, and I completely agree with him. LeBron James, who's obviously just probably one of like the best, pure, most athletic human beings to ever walk the earth.
Yeah.
And obviously, he played some football and stuff in high school, so you got that like and obviously, like, I mean, the skill set's probably there. Like, I mean, catch a rugby. If you can catch a basketball, you can probably catch a rugby ball. Also, he's just absolute massive. You could probably put him anywhere on the pitch. So I think that would be. I thought that was my first thought when I even posed the question, was just LeBron because of his actual athletic ability and like the marketability of him. And then more replies later. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to completely steal this answer because it's the absolute right answer to this question. So Ed McComber, at Ed McComber 52, he responded with The Rock. So Roman Reigns.
Oh, the Rock is a good answer. I just feel like that's just he's been like put in so many starting 15 lists,
dude. But that's why. That's why.
He
could suck. He doesn't have to be good at rugby. I don't care. He gets to make all the promos. I would love to just hear The Rock pregame. Hey, you're going up against like, I don't know, Ben Foden, and just have him like rip Ben Foden for like 15 minutes.
For sure.
I would be down for that. I want to see Major League Rugby players on Ballers. We can do that.
Young Rock. Let's get
some guys in Young Rock.
Put Cole Keith on Young Rock.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that. All like the marketing. Let's get someone in Jumanji. Put Sam Windsor can be in Jumanji. Then I'm assuming they're making more Jumanji movies.
Kevin Hart starting scrum half.
Exactly. Put some guys in Fast and the Furious. Vin Diesel can like beat somebody in a race. I don't know. Put like
all right.
Anyway, so that's what for like the marketing thing. Plus, I mean, maybe he can actually hit somebody at some point. I don't know. My only other thought on this, and I admittedly had to like Google it, so it's like it's maybe not the best suggestion. But the reigning like 100-meter dash champion right now is Christian Coleman, who he won like the last like world championships. He, however, is currently suspended for a couple of years for failing to attend drug tests. So take with what you will. But it's not so much Christian Coleman to me, but it was just like Man, it would kind of be interesting to be like, who's the fastest guy in the world and throw him on a rugby pitch. Like the actual.
Speaking of, thoughts go out to Perry Baker. I completely forgot about that until you mentioned that. Horrible injury. Hopefully, I don't know what a broken leg or broken ankle, whatever happened with him, takes to recover. Hopefully, he can recover in time for the Olympics.
Man, yeah, that's hard to. Yeah, that's.
I saw also someone else mention.
Also, a guy like Perry Baker is kind of why I'm like, let's go. Like, I mean, so like Christian Coleman, Andre DeGrasse, like Justin Gatlin, like someone like even Usain Bolt, if he's still like, active, kicking around, willing to do it, like just give me the fastest guy you can find.
My buddy, someone that I work with, mentioned like Connor McDavid, fullback or wing. The dude's got the wheels, and he's also a little bit thicker. Like that's the thing with like sprinters is like I'm always worried that they're going to be.
Yeah, some of them aren't the big, but they're
not the biggest. But like
over 200 pounds, like barely. But he was like he could do it. Andre DeGrasse, I think, is kind of small, might not work or whatever. But
he's short. But I think with Connor McDavid, he's got the wheels. And he's just got the size. He is not marketable at all. As hard as Rogers is trying to push him.
That was even the thing. It's like, I know
that's all another problem.
Someone responded with like Mike Trout, which I'm like, yeah, probably the best baseball player in the world. But like, who knows how many people know who Mike Trout is that aren't baseball fans, right? Like it's, baseball's got a market
all right
or whatever for themselves. But I just think the idea of having the fastest men in the world and just be like, if you can run fast, you could probably run fast with a rugby ball in your hand. So stick them on the wing, see what happens. Might be fun
for sure.
Other than that, though, the Rock, you can people's elbow somebody during a game. Be great.
No, we don't need to get him carded. That's a lot. That's an expensive red card. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna finish up there. If you guys want to, you folks listening want to hear more of our episodes, go to Rouge Rugby on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We have all of our links to our previous episodes. And make sure that you leave a little comment. Let us know how you felt about the latest episode or previous episodes, or just what you want to see in the future, because we're always looking for new content, new suggestions. Email us at rougerugby@gmail.com, and maybe we'll get back to you. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was a fun episode, and hopefully in the next couple weeks we will have more news to sit and chat about.